Hello there, boxing fans around the world. Welcome to another episode of Neil the Deal featuring Neil the Deal himself here on Talk and Fight. And tonight we've got a great episode lined up for you on Arturo Gatti, one of our favorite fighters.
Absolutely. Great. How you doing, man? Nice to see you again. Yes, he is. He's definitely one of my favorite fighters of all time. I used to love watching his fights. He was always spectacular, and what a slugger he was, eh? In the day, oh my gosh. I used to love his fights, and he had some of the best fights of all time, like fights that I continually still watch because they're so good. So, yeah, good evening, guys. We're going to talk about Arturo Gatti. Thanks for coming out, checking out Talk and Fight tonight. And so Arturo Gatti, he was born April 15th, 1972. And he has his handle was, Graham, do you remember his handle?
No.
Thunder.
Really?
Arturo Thunder Gatti. Yep. Oh, yeah. Used to see Michael Buffer in there just saying that with great conviction. You know what I mean? Thunder. So he was thunderous. I'll tell you, man. Any of his fights, guys. Any Arturo Gatti fights over the years, unbelievable. Guy was amazing. So, unfortunately, he passed away June 11th, 2009. So rest in peace, champ. We're talking about you. Hope everything's all right. You were awesome, man. Thanks a lot. He was born in Lazio, Italy, but his parents and him came to Canada and resided in Montreal. So they resided in Montreal, Canada. His career was quite a long career. I saw him fight at least, I would say, 15, 20 times over his career. And his career lasted from 1991 to 2007. So it was a 16-year career, Graham. And he was involved in numerous title fights, which we'll go over a couple later on in the show here. So he fought in divisions that he fought in were super featherweight, super lightweight, and welterweight. And he was the world champion in 2 weight divisions. So he won those titles, and I'll never forget the titles that he won. He was an amazing champion. So he was also known for his, as I always say, I always liked him because he always seemed to have that never give up style, eh, Graham? Like any of the fights you see him in, he's punching power, as we all remember. His punching power was unbelievable. He had huge heart. Remember, he'd be down in fights and he'd come back like he had heart and an iron chin. Man, could that guy take a punch? You know, and some of those title fights were just back and forth with him. So I'll never forget him. And guys, like I say, hopefully you'll check them out. Arturo Gatti fights are super exciting. They were basically slugfests. Remember, Graham? I used to call him, oh, here goes Gatti. It's going to be a slugfest tonight. So, and he could slug with the best of them. That was his issue. He was a very aggressive fighter. So what would happen was he would be throwing everything he's got at the guy. And if the other guy would be throwing just as bad at him, it would infuriate him. And he basically gave up on his defense in half of these fights. It was just a basic bloodbath and a brawl. You know, he was like a brawler, slugfest guy. So I used to love his style, and his fights were always exciting as heck. So in his amateur career, he was a member of the Canadian national boxing team, and he was going to represent Canada in the 1992 Summer Olympics, but instead he decided to turn pro in 1991. So he decided not to pursue his amateur career, and he went basically right into being a pro. So let's go over his pro totals. He had 49 bouts, of which he had 40 wins, 31 by knockout, 9 losses, and that gives him a 64% knockout percentage. But I'll tell you, any of the knockouts he had were like absolutely amazing, just furious punching power, and he was just a blast to watch fighting. So he had the 31 knockouts, which is pretty good out of the 40 fights. That's pretty damn good. So he turned pro, like I was saying, at 19 years old. And in 1994, he won his first title. It wasn't a world title, but it was the USBA super featherweight title. Then in December 1995, he won that first world title. That was the IBF junior lightweight title, and I remember that fight. That was a really good fight. In 1996, he didn't fight a lot in '96. He only had 2 fights and one in '97, but they were spectacular fights. 2 of them were fight of the year. One was with a guy named Wilson Rodriguez, and the other one was against Gabriel Ruelas. Guys, if you want to check out some super fights, Arturo Gatti versus Rodriguez or Arturo Gatti versus Ruelas were fantastic fights of the year. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, just unbelievable stuff. So in 1998, he decided to vacate that title and he moved up to lightweight. And that didn't work out so well. I can remember he lost all 3 fights in 1998, which was kind of like, wow, what the heck are you doing? You know what I mean? You vacate the title and now you lost 3 in a row. But in 2001, he did have a big fight, and I watched it, and I remember it distinctively. And he did not win the fight, but he was fighting Oscar De La Hoya in 2001, and he lost in the 5th round. I believe it was a TKO in the 5th round, but he gave it all he had in that one. I remember he was in there for a bit, but De La Hoya kind of got the best of him there. So then in 2002 and 2003, that's when they had the Arturo Gatti, Mickey Ward fights. Now, guys, these are by far some of the 3 best fights you'll ever see. I love watching them. I just love watching them, especially the third fight. The third fight, the rubber match, basically was amazing. Each one won. Each one won of the first 2, and then the third one that was like fight of the year. It was unbelievable. So if you want to watch a fight that you'll probably never see a fight, I believe Emmanuel Stewart, there was a round in there that he called it the round of the century, something like that, because if you remember, do you remember those fights, Graham?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they just basically went toe to toe to toe to toe, back and forth. Like you think one guy's getting knocked out, no, then the other guy's getting knocked out, no, and it just went back and forth for the whole fight. It was so exciting. It was unbelievable. And they were both cut, both bleeding. They both ended up in the third fight. I know they both ended up in the hospital on gurneys beside each other or something, and they ended up becoming really good friends after that. Funny enough, in his last fight, I understand that Mickey Ward was his trainer for his last fight. So they became really good friends after that. And that basically put him on the map. But, I mean, that's like 3 fights of the year right there already in his career. So unbelievable. 2004, after those, he won the super lightweight title. He won another world title, the WBC title. And in June 2005, he was beat by our buddy there, Floyd Mayweather Jr. He lost the title to Floyd Mayweather Jr. in June 2005. And then in 2006, he won the IBA welterweight title. But then in July of the same year, he fought another guy named Carlos Baltimore, who was a fantastic fighter himself, and he lost in the 9th round TKO, Gatti, right? So in his final fight, which was July 2007, he lost to a guy named Alfonso Gomez, and after that fight, he decided to call it a retirement right then and there. After that fight, now he was inducted into the Boxing Hall of Fame December 2012, and that was he became the 10th Canadian boxer inducted into the Hall of Fame. So Canadian boxers were in the Hall of Fame, but now we know at least 10. You know? So, like I say, he unfortunately passed away July 11th, 2009, and under some very controversial circumstances. That's whole nother thing in itself. But it's really sad because he was a great guy. He was only 37 years old when he passed away, so he was still a young guy. But thanks a lot for the fight, all the fights, and the great career, Arturo. It was awesome. Rest in peace, my friend. And thanks a lot for everything, guys, for coming out and talking about Arturo Gatti with me tonight and listening. You really liked him too, Graham?
I did. He was one of my favorites. I mean, when you talk about devastating puncher, but a guy who had a solid chin who could take a blow. Wow, this guy was amazing. Really top notch. Really, really good fight. You know how I used to describe the Mexican fighters of heart and soul, never give up. That's how I kind of think of Arturo Gatti. Just never gave up, just continually swinging away. And when he lost, he lost. They weren't, he wasn't going to leave it in the hands of the judges, if you know what I mean. He was great guy.
He'd leave it all in the ring. That guy. That's why I liked him. He had a go for broke style, if you know what I mean. He was just swinging for the fences every fight, and super exciting to watch. So, guys, if you want to watch any of the Mickey Ward fights, like I said, were amazing. Floyd Mayweather fight was amazing. The Ruelas fight was amazing. There's all kinds of them. The Rodriguez fight was amazing. So, any of those fights, guys, if you want to check them out. You won't be disappointed in Arturo Gatti because like I say, I loved him right from day one. So thanks a lot for coming out tonight, guys, checking out the show, the likes, the shares, subscriptions. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Graham. Yeah, thanks, Graham, for having me out.